Hey there, kids. It's me, Oni the Unicorn. And I'm here to tell you that f***ing your dreams ain't cheap. In fact, it costs a ton of cash to do. So that's why me and the OHNO Radio Show need your help. Just go to the website displayed below and hit us up with some cash, yo. $1, $5, $1 million if you have it to spare. Any amount is appreciated. Well, I gotta go because these dreams ain't gonna fuck themselves. See ya!
Oh my God, what's gonna happen? Oh my God, we have a new champion! Yes, welcome back to yet another edition of the OHNO Wrestling Podcast. Back in my rightful place as host of this goddamn show. My name is Owen, and I am your Sharp Break Kid, as well as being your predictions champion with the belt to prove it. With the belt to prove it, everybody. Yeah, the real champ is in the building. And, you know, thankfully, I suppose we have someone else here to talk some wrestling with us. His name is Jay Jansen, the double Jay Jansen. And welcome once again, buddy.
Yo, welcome to the show.
Yeah, man.
I'm here with my tag team partner, Thomas.
And
we are ready to talk some wrestling.
What's his full? You gotta say his full name. You gotta say his full name for the people.
Thomas Magnum P.I.
Yeah, that's Thomas Magnum P.I. And hopefully he comes back to talk some wrestling. I gotta ask you. You've had plenty of these little dogs, these little doggies over your life.
Hell yeah.
Do you find that any of them like or dislike professional wrestling?
You know what? I only have one who pays attention, and
Yeah?
it's my current Shih Tzu Luna. She just seems to watch whatever we have going on.
Who's Luna a fan of?
Nobody.
No.
But you know, it's really interesting. I often wonder what they think if they see that on the TV, because you know they can see HD TV. Dogs can see the HD.
Isn't it like certain refresh rates or something they can see?
They couldn't see old TVs because the refresh rates wasn't right. But these things they could see, and I often wonder if they see what's going on TV, and when the two of them fight, if they're emulating sometimes what they see. I know dogs do it anyways, but you know.
That is an interesting point though. Like, do they see it as like a play fight? Do they how do they interpret it? Weirdly,
I mean, maybe not the Texas Death Match. Maybe that is like
they might not be able to get the subtle, man. I would say they're just really into the cinema. You know, they're really into the long storytelling of.
They
big bloodline fans. I also can see them for some reason. Dogs probably like Mick Foley. If I was a dog, my favorite wrestler would be Mick Foley, and I don't know why, but he just looks like, he would
Mick
cuddle.
Foley or Keith Lee.
Yeah, good cuddlers. Good cuddlers.
I feel like either of those would be excellent dog owners.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. But
indubitably,
we're coming off an interesting couple of weeks in wrestling. I haven't been able to be on the show just because of work and other, just life circumstances. Thankfully, you guys, you being you and Matthew, did a show last week, pre-Survivor Series. Matthew is, I think he's snowboarding he's tripping on mushrooms and snowboarding or something. So
hopefully not at the same time.
Priorities. But no, he's out there doing his thing. It's totally cool. We'll hopefully get all three of us back together sometime soon. But But yeah, a lot has even happened since the last time you guys talked. Not let alone when I was last on the show. I believe I won the belt previous to Survivor Series, whatever pay-per-view that friggin' was, and then I retained the belt at Survivor Series. So it was a close fought victory. We won't spend too long on it because it's been a little bit now, but what were your overall thoughts of Survivor Series just as a pay-per-view without the last part? If you just cut if you leave the last part off, what are your thoughts of the pay-per-view as a whole?
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I thought the women's War Games match was good, and I did enjoy the men's. I did enjoy the return of swollen Randy Orton.
Orton,
So I
yeah,
thought that was
Orton looked absolutely fucking phenomenal, didn't he?
dude.
I mean, it's I've never been shy in saying that I used to call him Blandy Blorton, because he was just so boring all the time. And and we've seen so much Randy in the same boring promos and the same boring matches. I was so stoked to see him back. I don't know what it was. It was just like, holy shit, somehow they did it. I'm an Orton fan now. When did that happen? And part of it was his last run before he got injured. And
Right.
not necessarily all of the Matt Riddle stuff, but it was but involved in that. He went through his mustache phase, and he was a bit cheeky. He has a bit of a sense of humor. He started showing a bit of his personality, and I think it was that combined with holy shit, look at that specimen when he came out of the ramp. Like the two together, I'm like, okay. For some reason now I'm gonna kind of believe in Randy Orton and sort of like whatever program he is going to be in is going to be more interesting now. More interesting than I ever would have given it credit for prior to his injury. Rather.
Well, I think it's partly the old concept of absence makes the heart grow fonder, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And it's something that I wish they would have. They would really. They don't really get in the WWE, because the only time we really get absence is when they're not when they're injured, or if they don't have anything written for them, if they don't have anything interesting for them. And honestly, I think a lot of wrestlers would be more interesting if we went on, if they did shifts, took 3 months off and then 9 months on.
I think
if everyone took a break at some point, because get everyone off TV, when they come back, they feel refreshed almost every time. Unless they're Nia Jax, where it's just stay off the TV.
It's one of those things too, where there's so many wrestlers employed by both of the two major North American companies that they could run in shifts. That literally, like you said, you could have periods where they're just going to be off TV. It doesn't mean that it sucks for a lot of these guys, especially when they're hot. The only way they can get time off is if they get legitimately injured. Look at Moxley, for instance. I get it. The dude loves it. This is his life. This is his passion. But the dude's still not gone on vacation. There's still this thing where he has to keep showing up and keep doing this. And at a certain point, Moxley would benefit greatly from going away for a couple of months, because when he comes back, he can get his allure back. And yes, it's a problem. It's why the part-time champion works and doesn't.
Exactly.
It's the special attraction treatment, right? Roman benefits from not being on TV every week, not just in his personal life, but because he's not on TV every single week. It's better for his character and his aura when he is. So and I think that Brock was the same way. I think that hey, we'll just go ahead and say it. CM Punk is probably better treated like one of these characters. We'll get to him in just a little bit. But when it comes to the rest of the pay-per-view, I thought that the women's match was one good spot and atrocious pretty much elsewhere. There was a lot of logic. There's a lot of stupid logic holes that just fell completely apart. The men's match was actually well agented. I thought it built well, and I thought that the finish was correct. I thought that everything did seem to work quite well in that match. When it comes to most of the other card, it was trash. Gunther Miz was abysmal. Never needed to see that. Don't try and tell me that Miz wrestled his ass off and look at what a stunning performance he had, because it sucked, and it was attempting to be work rate, but wasn't. Gunther saved it. Honestly, the best match, apart from the men's War Games match on the card, in my opinion, was actually Rhea and Zoe Stark? Zoe Stark. Yes. Rhea and Zoe Stark have chemistry. And that match was actually took me by surprise. Was like, oh shit. Like, I know it had its flaws, and it had one or two things where it was like, oh, it's a little botchy, and like there was like a couple things, but they made the botches feel real enough to like it was a sporting contest. They turned the bugs into features, and I really, really enjoyed what they did in that match. And then there was the Santos match with whoever the fuck that was filler.
With Dragon Lee.
With Dragon Lee, yeah. And it wasn't a great showing for Dragon Lee. It didn't show off enough of what he
didn't have time
to
prepare, and
nope. It was a very that was a raw middle of a card raw match as I've ever seen on a pay-per-view. It didn't it was filler. So the pay-per-view for me, pretty fucking bland. If I'm being honest, like it was
about a 5 or a 6, which out of 10, which I would kind of be there as well. But honestly, I'll sometimes take that with WWE shows because we've come to expect so little, and if you go into them with low expectations, you often come out of them being like, that wasn't so bad. And that's what I've been doing. I mean, it's funny. I go into the AEW pay-per-views, and not to sound like an AEW fanboy, but I go into those with high expectations.
Sure.
And when they aren't met, and there's often times that they aren't, I come out disappointed. With the WWE shows, I go in with low expectations, and actually more often lately than not, they've been beating those expectations, which has been, for a fan, it's been nice. Also, I totally dig the 3.5 hour, 4 hour pay-per-views. As long as they don't break that 4 hour, go past that, I'm good.
They have the timing of the actual show correct, where an AEW can learn a lesson with that as well. Like the AEW shows are too long. Like they just are. They just are. Who needs a 12, 13 match card? I don't. I get it. You're trying to cram as much in, get as much screen time for as many people as possible, but you're also, every time you do that and every time you add a match, you sort of chip away and cheapen the others, and and everything else feels less exciting and less of a big deal the more you pile on these matches, and they can be great matches, but there's just an audience fatigue to it as well. Like especially if it's a Sunday pay-per-view, well, it's like I got work on Monday, really man. Like it's really taxing. I got work on Monday. Like I'm gonna have to miss the main event, or else I'm gonna have to stay up till like 12:30, 12:45. Like it's a long fucking time.
I'd also submit that every time they add on to a match to these pay-per-views, they're killing Excalibur just a little bit more.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
They're just testing him a little bit more to see how long he can go without taking in a breath.
I imagine that man has the best sleeps of any man on the planet. Like when he finally gets to lay down, he's just like, oh my God. Okay.
He probably dreams in the match cards.
Oh yeah.
Do you ever have a job where like you're dealing with cash and then you dream that like 326?
Oh, 100%.
He probably dreams in the match cards. He wakes up going,
and he wakes up talking like the Micro Machines guy. Like hey Claudio, action. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, like you God damn it. Give that guy a medal. He's got a hard job to do. But so we have to talk about it. We plan on talking about it. I want all the opinions. And let's be real about it. We're not fans of the guy. I don't want to speak for you, but I think I just did, and I think you agree in the sense that we're not fans of CM Punk, but I think you'd also agree with me that business wise, it made a fuckload of sense for them to do what they did and for them to re-sign him. I was surprised. They did a wonderful job of keeping this one hidden. Like it was like a minute or two before he came out of that curtain and that music hit. That like the dirt sheet said something. But it was like 2 minutes. And honestly, if you're watching the pay-per-view, you ain't on your phone at that point anyway. I didn't see anything. I heard about that later.
No. I mean, they in a dirt sheets probably had someone at his house. I mean, you got to imagine they were watching for this guy to leave.
Yeah.
Because, so I can't imagine how they smuggled the guy out and into the arena there.
It's impressive what they did in that regard, but at the same time, it was one of those moments in my mind. And again, it's because I'm not a fan of the guy. I see it like this. So I was always under the impression that they wouldn't because he's too much of a risk. But sometimes, I failed to really put it through in my head that sometimes that risk and that controversy also makes money. And I was under the impression that WWE won't do it because of best for business practices. This might not be best for business, but wasn't looking at it that way. What are we talking about right now, right? What is everybody in wrestling, journalism, media, content creation talking about? CM Punk. I thought he looked in way better shape than any time he was at AEW. I thought like he looked like, to me, I mean, tell me if I'm wrong, but to me it looked like he actually had bulked up a lot in his shoulders.
Yeah, he spent those 2 months wisely for sure.
And
however many months.
He didn't look like old man CM Punk. He looked like young CM Punk. Almost like the day he fucking left that place. Like he looked the WWE superstar part. So credit to Phil, if nothing else, for at least putting that part together and getting himself on the level of what a WWE superstar should look like. I'll call a spade a spade, like I'll tell you when I see things that even with him, I can see are positive. Now, he comes out obviously in Chicago, and I think people are being a little too kind about the overwhelming reaction he got. There were some boos. I heard boos. They got overshadowed by the sheer amount of CM Punk Chicago peoples, but there were people in that stadium that booed, and I fucking heard them. Did you?
Yes, I did too, and I think if you had a Venn diagram of wrestling fans, there would certainly be a little bit of overlap where there's those of us who watch both products, and I would think that those are probably the people who are booing, the people who are like, we know this is ultimately, and he could prove us wrong. But this could ultimately end up really bad for the WWE. Now, one thing I'll say is the WWE is a lot more adept to dealing with controversial and figures who may not always follow the rules.
Well, he's not going to have the same amount of creative control, and he's not going to have the same amount of pull in the locker room or within the organization that he did at AEW. WWE ain't going to put up with that bullshit. And not even WWE, Endeavor is not going to put up with that bullshit. TKO is not going to put up with that bullshit, right? So
can you imagine Punk at a press conference sitting next to Triple H bashing WWE?
Yes.
No way would that ever, that would never happen.
Triple H would literally say, guys, we're going to take a little break right now. We're going to pause.
Exactly.
And
where Tony Khan just sat there like a scared deer in the headlights.
Yes.
And bless Tony Khan. But again, he doesn't have that business, that experience handling those types of figures. Now, I'll be honest. When I Punk was originally during my dark period when he first came on WWE, and when he came to AEW, I actually was really excited. I know Brother Duncan is definitely not a CM Punk fan from listening to the old shows, and but I was like, okay, and I was willing to give him a chance. I even bought the shirt and wore it proudly for a while. But after the first incident, I was like, fuck this guy. After the second incident, I was like, fuck this guy. But one thing is I could always say at least he was genuine. At least he was genuine.
Right.
Something I cannot say about him anymore is I can't see him as genuine.
No.
And when you look at the promo going to Raw the other night, what happened to this is a company that was literally killing me.
Yeah.
What happened to all the shit he talked about WWE? Because he's got to answer for that. We can't just sit there. A lot of us can't just sit there and accept that he's back and it's all water under the bridge just like that. No.
Oh, people grow up, people mature. Because he must have matured then, literally in the span of 3 months. Like, so we're talking, like, because he was very immature up until the end of his time with AEW, talking shit this whole time. So you're talking almost 10 years, right, with WWE, talking shit about that company, comes back to wrestling, talks shit about that company in another company, and then, gets fired in August. And here we are at the end of November, and he's showing up, and all of a sudden he's a changed person. Fuck you. You fucking high? Like, that doesn't happen. No human being changes and matures overnight like that. It's the guy is an absolute hypocrite. Did you know that the doctor, I have his name, but the one that essentially Punk on Colt Cabana's podcast, Art of Wrestling, the one that he called out and was throwing under the bus, his name's Chris Amon. That's the dude that sued CM Punk for defamation after that podcast.
Yep.
Still works for WWE, by the way. So the motherfucker that is going, like, and Chris Amon is there. Like, hey, buddy, like, how's that interaction in the hallways, right? So, I don't know. He's probably not there every night. He's probably, that's someone they send people, like, to go see.
How about with The Miz? Do you remember the comment he made about The Miz? Miz, go get your blood money in Saudi. Like, he talked a lot of shit about The Miz.
And a lot of shit about the whole Saudi Arabia thing in general.
Yep, exactly. And he's going to be there in the next Saudi show.
No way he's there.
I guarantee it. And it's the thing. This is what they call famously Pope money. And he said at the end of that promo, which, by the way, that promo was almost word for word a copy of his AEW promo. The whole, like, you asked for this, and I heard you, and now I'm home. Like,
except it was a milk toast version of it. Like, it was a less interesting version of it.
Because I think he legally can't say anything about AEW.
No, he can't.
Tony can't say anything about
both of them,
either,
I think.
So.
Yeah. So there is definitely something there. I absolutely agree, but I also think that part of that promo. Now here's where I give some credit. Part of that promo, 100% work. The dude is already setting up for his heel turn. It's already going to be a very interesting. They're going to play off real life stuff. There were certain clues in there that I do think that they have thrown into a new story arc. There's a reason he sort of referenced Heyman. And I think it does make a lot of sense to have the wise man, and it wasn't a wise man once told me. He said, the wise man once told me. That is a reference to Paul Heyman. And yes, I think that they are going to pair the two back up because that is, we all know the bloodline is on thin ice. We're done with it, really. Yep. If we're going to use the talents of Heyman to get the next big guy over, which, of course, Punk doesn't need, but putting those two diabolical characters together in a heel way makes complete fucking sense. And that's exactly what I think they're going to do. That being said, with all of this, I initially, it took me a second, and I'm like, ooh, how does this change the landscape of the WWE storyline picture, where we're going for WrestleMania? How does this affect, Roman and Seth and guys at the top of the card? Because of course he will be at the top of the card. Where do we slot him in, and who do you personally feel bad for that's getting bumped out of the way? Because personally for me, I feel bad for Damian Priest right now. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre are two of the people that I'm like, you were getting.
I think LA Knight too.
And LA Knight.
I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I think
all three.
And to add a fourth, I think it immediately cooled off Randy Orton to some, because that completely.
I'll actually disagree with you on that one.
Well, then you're a bastard.
No, because I think he's. If it was anybody else that had made that debut, that re-debut, or whatever return that night, I think you would be right. Randy Orton, for some reason, is bulletproof. Like he's like a weird exception to the rule, and I also can you can logically see, if they wanted to do it, a Randy Orton CM Punk feud that would actually sell some tickets. So and you can base
that makes a lot of sense. That's fair.
So I think that one is an exception, but yeah, every even Cody, right? Like, does this change the plans? Does this change the direction of that?
He does feel a little cooler now. And I feel like the plans are definitely for Seth and Punk, and still have Cody go against Reigns, but it definitely makes that program doesn't seem as hot as it was.
And absolutely, and it also, if you're saying it's Seth, Punk, and then again, now you got Damian Priest on the back burner with that Money in the Bank briefcase. Like that. Yeah. That to me was the obvious direction that he was going to be cashing it in and winning it from Seth, and he should.
Great point.
Really do that. So you're throwing that in there. Where does that come in? I suppose you can have a long match where Punk eventually defeats Seth, for instance, for that championship, and then a cash in on Punk from Damian Priest. I don't hate that. But unless you do something with Damian, you've lost all the momentum that this Judgment Day project has been, and Damian Damian and Rhea really coming out as stars, and Dom too, but all of them being elevated by this project. Obviously, Damian was the next big thing they wanted to push because they put the briefcase on him, right? So what are we doing with that? We just going to squander that momentum? It feels like they are. It feels like they've just gone, and
yep.
You can even see it with the fake half cash in thing that happened at Survivor Series, right?
We've got so many of those. They're starting to feel just so oh my god,
yeah.
We're doing this again. How many times has he attempted that cash in? It's just been, it's been half a dozen now, and it's just.
I guess when it finally does happen, it'll make it feel more important. I don't hate it, but it's probably been a bit too much. I agree. So let's do this. Let's really go crazy and do some fantasy booking shit with Punk, because if we're doing what ifs, I mean. Would they insert him with a feud with Roman? If they're going
eventually, yeah.
If they're going the direction with the wise man thing, and that they do have some interaction with, or stuff going on with Heyman, and Heyman has to make a decision between Roman and Punk, and you get a big twist in that, and then obviously that you can tell that story. Would it be good? That's the part that I'm
No, because they can't have either person lose. And that's a problem. I mean, we would never get a satisfying, logical conclusion to that feud between those two, especially not one that ended without some sort of shenanigans. Like we'd never get a clean finish because
No.
neither guy could go over, and so I wouldn't be very satisfied with that. There's a lot of mid card to lower upper card matches where I'm like, man, that would actually be kind of, that'd be something that they could promote that would do well. Like got a Logan Paul versus Punk. Oof.
Yeah,
A
that would
Kevin
move.
Owens versus
That would
Punk.
be.
I mean, all of it. I mean, every Nakamura versus Punk, Sami Zayn versus Punk. Like, there's so many directions you could go just because he's the fresh new guy. But I guess we'll see in these first couple matches if he could actually have a match without getting hurt, and if he could make it interesting. Like, the thing I'm wondering most about the Punk experiment is, can he ever win us over again? Can he ever win people like us over, back over? We're going to be like, you know what? Maybe he's right. Maybe he's changed. Maybe I will go back to Pro Wrestling Tees and buy that Punk shirt. I don't know what it would take. It would take a lot more. We know he's not genuine anymore. So he's definitely not starting off on the right foot. But it's not like the guy owes us anything. He owes us nothing as wrestling fans. But he definitely, he owes it to himself to win more favoritism among those, especially when he's trying to be a babyface among those who are booing him. Because you heard those boos, I heard those boos, and we're gonna keep hearing them.
Yeah, it's gonna take and they're gonna get bigger and bigger. At, anywhere he, else, outside of Chicago, they're gonna be louder. But, it's gonna take a long time for me to even give that consideration because of it's the genuine thing, it's the hypocritical thing. Like that's realistically the problem. But then there are fans out there that could give two shits about it. And what I don't get is, I guess it's the same, when you see someone buying punk rock t-shirts at Walmart, right? It's the, you don't know what punk rock is, do you? You don't know what this is like. You don't know what this really stands for. You don't know what this whole ideal is. That's it with these punk fans. Like you like a brand. You don't like an ethos. You don't like a culture. You like a brand. And I think that's what it is with CM Punk fans. Like they like a brand. And good on you. Good on you, I guess, if you do. Like that's your shit. Like, I hate the term, but I'm not gonna yuck on your yum and all that. Like, do you? But he's still
he's a bit of a meme too.
You still have to admit that he's a hypocrite. You still have to admit that. Like, I'm not gonna let you get away with, like, that's your opinion, man. Kyle Deuce, fuck you. It's not my opinion, man. It's the fact, bro. Like there are, I mean, and then there's just like, there's countless, like, pieces of evidence for this. Like there's countless. Like if you can't see that this guy's a hypocrite, then you are blind. And it's okay if you want to like the hypocrite because you think he's cool, he's got good music, he's a good promo, and you think he's good in the ring, which, by the way, he's fucking not. Let's go ahead and back up there. Some of his AEW matches were interesting. Was he a botch machine? Fuck yeah. Let's not forget how shitty he's gonna have. Like, let's not overlook, rather, if he does have a match with Roman, how shitty that match will be. Let's not overlook how he's going to make Seth look more boring than Seth usually looks in the ring. That's not going to make, like him and Randy Orton, yeah, you can make a story out of it, but it's going to be a fucking boring match. And I can't tell you one match he's going to have in WWE that's actually going to be good. The only good matches he had were with Mox and MJF. That's it. That's it.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I do think there's some excitement to fantasy booking. Not that Logan Paul versus CM Punk would be a good match, but It's the difference. You were talking about, like, buying the punk rock shirts at Target. It's like the difference between someone who's a baseball fan and someone who's a baseball fan.
Sure.
Like, we know, I have a friend who has season tickets to our local team, the Colorado Rockies. He goes to all the games. He couldn't name one player. Like, he goes because it's a social event.
Sure.
He enjoys,
and there's something
cheering
cool
them
with
on.
that too. Good
Yeah,
for
exactly.
you. Yeah.
And then I have friends who they will tell you every single stat. They will tell you the stat of every single like player on the Brewers from like 1983.
Yep.
Like, off the top of their head. And that's the same here. It's because we are so deeply involved in pro wrestling, not just as something that we enjoy watching, but something that we enjoy talking about. It's almost, it transcends being a hobby. It's part of our lives.
Mhm.
And so for us, we're very protective over it. And we see someone like CM Punk who kind of comes in, and really, with Punk, his reputation precedes him, and that's what he rides on.
Yep.
Not on having good matches, not on being the best storyteller, sometimes being a good promo.
And I'll clarify my statement. I'll clarify my statement too. I'm saying he's gonna have some real fucking shitty matches and has done since like when he was in AEW, but he doesn't need to have good matches. I want to clarify that
exactly.
too. He doesn't need to. I'm just pointing it out that he's not Kenny goddamn Omega, right? Like,
No.
it's.
But nobody in the WWE needs to have
No,
good
nobody does in the WWE.
because
Look at them as.
and as I say it all the time, I hate to be a broken record, but the WWE is a comedy drama with wrestling as the background, where AEW is a pro wrestling show with comedy and drama segments. And that's a fine distinction. Even Vince McMahon makes that distinction when he says we're not wrestling, we're sports entertainment.
Yes.
And I have no problem with that, because I like my WWE
for what it is.
AEW.
Yes,
Yeah,
you like each for what it is, and
I like my sports entertainment,
and it's an
important. My wrestling.
It's an important distinction. It's also why, like, for instance, I find Seth Rollins matches to be boring as shit. I have not seen a Seth Rollins match in WWE in a very long time that has actually excited me. I'm not saying that he's a bad wrestler, because if he was in another system. And I've seen his stuff in NXT. I've seen like some of his Ring of Honor stuff. Tyler Black had some amazing matches and is an amazing wrestler. But in the system that he's in, he has boring as shit matches. It's just like that. And CM Punk is not going to have some of the things that he can lean on with his matches that he could in AEW. What CM Punk match didn't he bleed? Like, he ain't gonna be able to. He ain't gonna throw that. He ain't gonna be able to do that anymore. Was it him or MJF that made that dog collar match as good as it was? It was MJF. I'll just say it, and that's not me being like hyperbolic, or that's not me being, oh, I don't like CM Punk. No, go watch that match. It's MJF that makes that match. It's not CM Punk. It's MJF that makes that match. So that's my biggest concern. I think my initial thought when he came back, I saw the outpouring, the good and the bad, and Twitter and Facebook and everything, like all forms of wrestling social media, including our own group, facebook.com/groups/OHNO Wrestling. And my main takeaway in my mind was, and I think I've said this, sentiment on the podcast before, if you're a fan of pro wrestling, and more if you're a fan of the WWE, you should be a little bit worried that CM Punk has just joined your company. WWE is on one of the hottest runs that it's ever been, right? It's incredibly hot right now. It's a very, very popular product in the industry. To have this possible disruption enter this world, if I was a massive WWE mark, I would be worried. And that is my biggest problem and my biggest fear and my biggest apprehension with CM Punk coming to WWE, is that finally we got this thing good. We got this thing, this train back on the tracks, and we're chugging down, and we've got some really cool shit going on. And then we're going to fucking throw the bricks right on the tracks. Why are we throwing the bricks on the tracks? Like
because it's best for business, and it sucks. It's best for business, and it's also worse for business at the same time. What a double-edged sword,
I would have, like, here's my big thing is I always said, yeah, I think he's gonna come back after the AEW firing, right? Like, yeah, I think it will eventually happen, but the WWE doesn't need him now, and that's why it will happen in 2024 after this next WrestleMania. That was my thought process the whole time. I still believe in everything that I said. They didn't need him at the time.
Not
I
right
think,
now.
and I think that it would have actually served better for everyone had it come later. They just chose to jump the gun out of spite towards AEW and because they happened to have Survivor Series in Chicago that weekend. It was the perfect storm of those things. If Survivor Series isn't in Chicago that weekend, he's not coming back. He's just not. It wouldn't have happened. So I stand by my sentiment there. I also think, though, okay, what are some weird shit, things that can happen with CM Punk? The biggest one is the story that they have to tell when Cody wins the belt. Cody has to win the belt off Roman. The next challenger would logically be CM Punk in my twisted mind. At this point, that's the story to tell. And that's how you tell an anti-AEW story without mentioning a word about AEW. That's how you weave all of those things, those real-life things that we do or do not know about Cody not really liking CM Punk getting hired by AEW. That's how we turn this tale. Here we are again. I finally get my big moment, and you are trying to come and steal it. Like that's the story that is there. Remember a couple weeks ago I had texted you, like, that's how, like, I got an idea for CM Punk. This is how you do CM Punk in WWE. I think I texted you. I had this theory.
Yeah.
This is what it was all about. It was basically it was all revolved around the story. The real story is CM Punk and Cody Rhodes.
Right.
Like, if you're not going to tell that story, there's no fucking reason for him to be in the WWE. That's my personal opinion. That's maybe why they brought him in so soon, is so that they are planning on having Roman drop the belt to Cody and Roman going away for a long time, and to have someone as equal in clout as Roman, which I would argue CM Punk is on the scale for especially the casuals. I would argue that would be a great way to keep the momentum going with Cody winning the belt. If Cody doesn't have a very, very strong challenger right away, Cody's going to have a big problem with that belt. Mm-hmm. He needs a CM Punk to follow a Roman to have a big feud with to move forward.
Well, unless Punk's on SmackDown, unless Punk takes does take the belt off top of Seth there. I want to touch on something you said earlier about how things with the WWE are just getting good, and we're kind of throwing this guy in there. This is it's ironic because we were talking about how his promo mirrored his AEW promo. This is mirroring very much how he came into AEW. And the thing is, he came in at a time where they didn't necessarily need him, but it helped to have him. It helped business to have him. And look at what happened. He, during his time there, he left a lasting mark on them to the point where even though he's not there anymore, they're still hurt feelings, repercussions.
They are still, well, as a company, I'll even go further and say I think they're still in course correction mode to put the train back on the tracks after him. Like, he left so much damage in his wake that it's now we've got to figure out how to. We probably wouldn't have started this whole goddamn show on Saturday if it wasn't for you, motherfucker. Exactly. And now we're left with these remnants to pick up. So, like,
and it's Tony. Tony just let Punk walk all over him, and it was, going back to this WWE is not going to let this happen.
No,
but I would think that if Punk continues the same course that he went on his last run in WB and his last run in AW, this is all just going to happen again.
We should we do a bet? Should we do a friendly show bet, right? Our estimated dates or timeline of how long CM Punk lasts in WWE. Does he make it? First off, does he make it to WrestleMania next year? Does he get that far?
Does he get that far?
I think he
very hard to keep him on there.
I think so.
I bet he's gone by Valentine's Day of 2025.
Okay, Valentine's Day 2025. That's a really good guess.
Because I bet you, or what? No, he's gonna make it to whatever his wedding anniversary is.
Quits on his wedding anniversary.
No, they fire him on his wedding anniversary. Remember, they fired him on his wedding.
Yeah,
and he had no problem talking about that when he was in AEW. What happened to the company who did that to him? Like, I guess they're cool.
Exactly. Yeah. Oh yeah, no big deal. Water under the bridge. While we're on the topic, what about, because of the Heyman connection, what about a special attraction match at some point and do a Brock Lesnar CM Punk thing?
It'll never happen. But
doesn't need a belt. Doesn't need a belt. That's one CM Punk match I would actually like to see, because I just want to see Punk or get his ass kicked by Brock Lesnar. So
agreed.
That's
100% agreed. 100% agreed.
Brock finally, he snaps. He's like, "Oh, this guy pretended to be a UFC guy. Here we go." Yeah, there is.
Yeah, I mean, I could see Brock opening him up too, just like he did with Randy that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it out of the question. Is all I'm saying is, if you're trying to keep him away from a belt but keep him on the top of the card, that's the guy. That's the way that you do that. So I wouldn't. That's a never say never for me. Like that could probably work. I don't know. I don't know who else. I mean, I guess you could do a program with Priest. Don't care. Don't want to see it. Like that to me. That's just like whatever. I guess you could elevate Priest. I guess you could do something with it that way, but still don't really care to see it. And then
my prediction.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say we'll probably see Punk do something at the Rumble, I assume. But I don't think he's gonna be in the Rumble.
I think he will.
I bet you. I think
he's in the Rumble
to wrestle. No, because Cody wins. And you can't.
Yeah, it's going to be him and Cody at the final two, and Cody's going to win.
I don't see Punk actually losing that match. I bet you Punk's in the Rumble card somewhere, and then he wins Elimination Chamber, and that's how he gets to Seth.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's not terrible.
Cody wins Rumble, and then he finishes the story.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty convinced Cody wins Rumble, but I also can see the logic in putting CM Punk in the Rumble there too, as to give you some credible doubt that Cody's gonna win. And that's the thing right now, is that he's announced. We all kind of think he's gonna win. They gotta give some disbelief, suspension of disbelief for us, like that someone else can win. CM Punk's that guy to be able to do that. So that's why I say that he's in it. Doesn't mean he can't go on to be in an Elimination Chamber and win that too. So like that, both can happen. Both of the things can happen.
For sure.
In that world. I don't know. It's going to be an interesting couple of months. I think he lasts it's going to be about 18 months. So it's going to be, okay, so that would be around, he's going to make it through this Mania. It's going to be just before Mania 2025 is what I'm saying. He gets fired or quits the company. That's my guess.
Ironically, that's right around the release of the Fantastic Four movie, so I guess it'll be clobbering time, eh?
I have no. I don't watch that. Is there?
Oh, that's when he says when Punk says.
No, I know the clobbering time.
Yeah,
but,
but
that's from the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, and that movie is supposed. Yeah, it's from.
I didn't even know. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
I had no idea that was a Fantastic Four reference.
Punk's a huge fan of The Thing.
Fucking nerd.
Yeah,
God damn it. Ah, man. Speaking of other nerds, Kyle Deuce from our Facebook group, he's a nerd. He says, does FTR go to WWE? Obviously, in response to CM Punk going, them being like super tight with each other. I think I responded correctly when I said, let me rephrase it, because he phrased the question as, so now that CM Punk went back to WWE, any chance you FTR? No, he doesn't know. He's from Polk County. He doesn't know English. Any chance FTR might go? I'll edit it. Any chance FTR might go next? Go next or down the road? Whatever. He can't. He's illiterate. I said next, probably not. Eventually, yes. Before Punk even went to the WWE, I would have said the same. So I think we're all in agreement there, right? I think that FTR does eventually go back to WWE. I don't think that I don't know. I mean, I know they signed long contracts apparently with AEW. They're there for like 3 years, I guess. So not happening soon. I can see him wanting to do it, but I also see that it would be a huge mistake. Like, what are they going to do? Just do the same shit they did in AEW and WWE? I don't want to see that.
Right.
I want to see. I want to see the Usos and FTR. I want to see that, eventually. But I also want to see Bucks and the Usos, and probably never gonna happen. So,
right. I mean, it'll be the whole FTR and Punk stuff will be fresh for people who only consume the WWE product. So I could see them going for that for sure. It's.
I don't need to see another 10 Bret Hart tribute matches, dude. I don't.
But you're going to. It doesn't matter. You're going to. Like, that's the nature of wrestling, man.
God damn it.
I mean, I don't want to see another wrestling wedding, but God damn it, we're gonna see another one at some point.
The bigger point why I bring up Kyle Deuce's question is one of the things I said in the group too, and I was like, because of this whole Punk thing. In the past, Tony Khan has been really kind when guys have asked for their release, like the William Regal thing, right? He's been real kind in letting them out of contracts and, okay, you're not happy here, you want to go do something else, that's cool, I'll let you go. Like, I'll just drop the contract, we're good. He ain't doing that with FTR on this one. Nah. Like, and if he is, he's soft as shit. But
let's be honest, FTR has become really stale in AEW. Like, what else? What else do you want to see him do? Like, have a match against the Righteous? Like, maybe the Hardys would be another good. Well, have they done the Hardys yet? Hardys are so. Cool.
I don't need to see the Hardys with anyone. Honestly, I think with FTR, the key with both of those guys, and they did it a little bit with Dax. But we need to see them in singles. You never have to break up the team. They can always be there for each other. They can always be friends. But I want to see both of them on singles runs. I think we did it with Dax. Like I don't necessarily need it with him again. I want to see Cash in singles. I think Cash is actually the better of the two. As a wrestler, as a personality, he's not been able to showcase everything that guy's capable of. And I think that if that's how you do FTR again, is that you elevate Cash so that both of them gain some popularity back. And then after that, you've got a new fresh babyface tag team, but you do it through the lens of one of them to elevate him to get that team back on track. That's how I would do it because I'm a genius. But
Hey, now I wanted to kind of add on to good brother Kyle's question there.
He's not a good brother. He's not.
Do you see any other Punk loyalists maybe jumping ship Danhausen hasn't been too happy lately, and he sure loves
Danhausen should be fucking happy he has a goddamn job. Danhausen he doesn't have any right to be unhappy anywhere. If he was working at the fucking Walgreens, Walgreens, he should be happy to have a job. He should, let alone AEW. Fuck you, Danhausen. Shut up.
I could see him ending up in WWE. I could see him flourishing there. I really could. I don't think he's done enough in AEW, and I don't think he's going to. But in the WWE,
Danhausen in NXT somehow fits perfectly.
Yeah, that can be good too.
Danhausen in NXT works. I don't see Danhausen's not main roster material. Never will be. Nope.
You're gonna hate me for saying this, but I think he is in the same way that guys like Mick Foley are, where he's there to be beat up and to be like the underdog who loses, who may hold the championship for a hot minute. I'm not saying he's gonna hold the championship, maybe a mid card, but he's not like a title holder. He's there for the comedy. He's there for the kids. Yeah, he's there for the kids, and that's what they need. They want to grab a lot more kids. Man, the
gimmick is already stale, bro. The gimmick is already stale. There's no longevity. There's no longevity to it.
In WWE would be fresh.
Yeah, okay. So fresh for what? Shit. Another year, and then it just extends it for a year. It's not gonna. It's not something. No, that's not long lasting, bro. It's not. No. Sorry, I'm turning into Vince Russo. I keep broing you.
I'm not your bro, pal.
You threw in the notes like thoughts on the Creed brothers. I did want to bring them up since we just briefly mentioned, NXT 2.0, and it seems like are the Creeds officially on the main roster now? Or what? Yes.
Yeah, they're going to be the next fight for the titles. So,
dude, I was singing their praises since that very first episode of NXT 2.0 when you had Von Wagner and Braun Breaker and like all, like the guys that they subsequently built the company around and done a decent enough job with. Like, can't believe how they turned that into somewhat of a decent product. They have, because it wasn't for a while there, but the Creeds were also on that very first show. And even in that very first like showcase, if you will, on that show, I'm like, nah, there's something there. There's something there. And both of them are good, but Julius is just Jesus Christ. Like that dude's got it. Like there's storytelling, there's charisma, there's just the athleticism, the pure athleticism that guy has. They're fools if they don't strap him up soon. If it's not this time, then the next time. But honestly, just do it. Like why? Why
we need
not
to separate those belts? Like, I'm so tired of those belts being just like, if they're not unified, if we're not going to unify them, let's at least split them again between SmackDown and Raw.
Agreed. Like, I guess why are they doing it the way they are? Just because it looks cool that they have all that.
My theory is it allows the Judgment Day to go back and forth between shows. And it allowed the Judgment Line to go back and forth between shows, and allowed
just
Kevin
make
Owens
one
and Sami
set of
Zayn
belts, and you say the tag champs are for both brands. Like that's all you have to do.
Either that or split them. Like we gotta.
I would actually prefer it. No, I'd prefer it if they merged them and had the merged bounce between.
No, I'm
brands.
good either way. But I get it.
I think because I think less belts in that scene is better. Because it makes whoever are the tag champs more important. It's kind of like why in AEW, why the fuck do we have a Ring of Honor 6-man and then we have a trios on AEW? No, that's stupid. Those need to be just one belt that crosses between the brands and be done with it, right? Like
that's what I think the Continental belt's going to be. I think it's going to be something that's going to go across,
and that's a great idea.
And JPW, and
that's exactly.
And I'm fine with that. Yeah,
that's exactly what they should be doing. Do you want to maybe take a 10-minute break and come back with the rest
I gotta
of our
let
thoughts?
These dogs out real quick.
Let them out. I gotta pee, have a quick smoke. We'll take a 10-15 minute break, and we'll be back with more. We got plenty more to discuss, and reason I, was triggered with that break is because we got to discuss that Continental Classic, my friend.
Yes,
we
do.
Like,
yes, we do. Good segue.
Yeah. I do my best. It's like I've done this before, once or twice. Have some tunes, and we'll be back in just a few minutes with more OHNO Wrestling. And what do we say when we get out of here? Oh yeah, that one thing. Whoa, I hit the wrong button.
What was that?
That's a wrong answer button. But we'll just give it a woo. See you in a few. Be right back.
at night, windowless ride, feeling alive. Nothing in sight, forever in flight. Follow those lines, we'll make it this time. Blurry street lights, work as a guide to memories that we're making tonight. Oh yeah, we'll make it tonight. Yeah. I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in. I'm in a race that everybody's chasing fast. They wanna be that someone on the screen at last. They ain't looking inside for their needs in life. They wanna be liked by everybody in sight. But trust me, being free ain't spotlights. No, it's long nights and it's long fights with yourself all the time to get your mind right. But if you put in the work, you can find the light, alright? I'll do anything that I feel like I wanna do. I'm living life like I got nothing left to prove. No end in sight, just always staying on the move. I'll go all night if that's just what I gotta do. Life's too short to care about what you can't afford. Memories are in what you explore, so just don't be ignored. Go ask for more, go ask for more. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in. 'Cause I've been living life right like I could just die any minute. Going for a ride down the side, PCH country limit. I don't need a guide, follow lights, take me where I wanna visit. Are you alive? I'll just breathe in.
Yeah, that's right. We're back. More OHNO Wrestling podcast for your ear holes. I'm still your champion. I am still the Sharp-Break Kid. And still with me is the one and only Double J Jensen. Buddy,
What is up?
are you ready to talk about how good this, surprisingly, how good this Continental Classic tournament is shaping up? Because I didn't have high hopes, honestly, when the roster the roster was announced. I'm like, okay, yeah, all right, all these are good, but I'm like, where is this going? And all of a sudden, I'm like, oh shit, they're telling stories with this. Like, oh, this thing is gonna be something. Is that how you feel about it too?
Yeah, for sure. And one of my favorite things in wrestling is when I can't predict where something is going.
Yeah.
And I honestly can't tell you who I think is going to win it. Like, it's just, there's a lot of different choices you could go with, and all of them are good choices. So it's definitely something that's been interesting to me. It's no G1, but it is. I think it's a really good introduction to the round robin style of tournament for AEW fans who
for
may not
dumb
have
Americans
seen,
that don't watch the World Cup, that don't
Yep.
that don't know how round robins work. Yes,
Exactly.
that's all it really is. It's the fucking World Cup, guys. It's easy. It's not that complicated. I know exactly where it's going. I have a prediction that I'm almost 100% gonna win it. I think I see the stories developing, but I also see the splinter stories off the sides. Before we get to that though, real quick. And I hate to do this. God, man. It's it was one of those that popped in my head when we were talking about like the CM Punk thing and like the people going to from AEW, of course, to WWE. And I guess it all ties in with the Continental Classic because this guy's in it. But when I see this dude, I think it's a guy in my mind that belongs in WWE for some reason. And it's kind of an odd one. But I think he fits. Like, just hear me out. I want to see Brody King in a WWE ring. For some reason, when I see him, I'm like, no, that's what they need. That's the style of like this. He can work safe, but he's got this brutality and like the star like presence, the size and everything. Like there's something about him that fits in my head, and it's kind of like it shouldn't, right? It shouldn't actually like work as well as it does. Because he's like forever been kind of an indie guy, a PWG guy, and all this. But I want to see Brody King in a WWE ring. Don't know why.
Mm-hmm. I think he's naturally intimidating in a way that like Braun Strowman and Kane weren't. When I say that, I mean like I would be far more worried, walking into Brody King like in a dark alley than I would, Kane without his mask. But I mean, let's remember, Kane appeared on WWE television wearing his mask in a polo shirt and khaki pants at one point. So he's not exactly the scariest man in the world. So, but Brody King, man, I think back to. God, was it the last tournament he was in where he choked out Darby Allin by hanging him? I mean, my God. And so I agree with you. I think he could do some really good things in WWE. Do I see him going there? I don't know. I just don't know.
That's a never say never. I think if he were to pop up on the free market right now, his contract, I don't know how long his contract was, but say he had a real short one, like a 1-2 year deal, and he like the contract expires, I think WWE would have interest. They'd be silly not to.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a weird one I'm throwing out there, but yeah, maybe one day we'll see that. But back to the Continental Classic. We've had a few matches now. Pretty much all of them have been good. They're really putting some heavy emphasis on quality wrestling. They're doing some really good stuff with character development within the matches, storytelling within the matches. And that's what I think it's really one of the best things about this has been the no one at ringside stipulation, right? Like that has to just be as pure wrestling as it gets. There will be no disqualification bullshit. And a lot of these matches have been better because of it. Saw a side of Moxley we haven't seen in a while either. Like his sort of style of wrestling that he was doing in New Japan rather than his typical just bash about and get bloody, sort of style. Like, no, he went back into some technical wrestling and won with a technical wrestling move. Who the hell did he beat again? Shit, I can't remember now.
Talking about the other night?
Yeah, the other night. I'm having a mind fart.
It was
because he tricked him in the end. and he got.
Oh, it was Jay Lethal.
Lethal, yeah.
Yeah,
like a really good. That was a really good match. Like,
yeah, and giving a lot of credit to Jay Lethal too. Jay Lethal is a wrestler, is one of the most dependable wrestlers on that card for like consistent matches where he can put someone else over. He's really good.
Andrade had a really good one too. Who was he against? But I remember seeing Andrade had a really quality performance recently. It seems like, and Swerve Swerve was the one. I'm like, I don't think Swerve's gonna win it, but Swerve's gonna look like an absolute stud at the end of it, because I heard this sort of take floating around, like Swerve's already, after that last Hangman match, that death match, Swerve's cemented himself as like, oh shit, he's the real deal. He's like got star quality. People
are cheering him.
Yeah,
they love him.
He might be the next champion. But they're also doing this take that I heard, like, which is a really great one, I think. They're also showing you in this tournament, even if he doesn't win it, but look how like quality his matches are. Look how good of an actual wrestler is. So that when this ends, even though when he doesn't win, he's still a top guy. But now you have in your head, no, not only is he a top guy because of his character work, his sinister nature, and how crazy he was in that match, and all that like top heel stuff moving forward, but the guy from fucking Go, and that's what you'll come away with, thinking about after this whole tournament. So it'll be a big thing for him. I think they're gonna do some. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead, please.
I was gonna say they're doing the same thing with Roosh, or they're trying to. I got a problem with Roosh though. He's an ugly fucker. He's just an ugly dude. I think his face is ugly and his hair is terrible. I think he needs a man makeover. Like, he's got the body, everything from neck down. Dude, fucking peace. Like, look at that guy. Like, incredible.
Dude, he's got the Jack Perry hair. I bet it smells incredible.
It looks terrible. It looks terrible. No main event star has that hair or can have that hair. Can you name one? Can you name
Roman Reigns?
He doesn't have, no, it ain't that. It's not that tight curl.
It's just as wet. It's just as wet
though. Who has ever had that hair and been a top guy? I don't think it exists. I don't think you can name a top guy. There's other guys that have had the hair.
Well, there's guys who've had short, curly, blonde hair. Thinking back to like the Gorgeous Georges and guys like that.
Well, even Dusty had the short Dusty curls,
But Roosh is interesting, and I do like him. He wouldn't have been one of my top choices to be in the tournament, but I think this tournament's going to elevate every single person in it.
I hope you're right in that, but the two instantly I'm like that they've elevated. Actually, three. I would say Roosh, I would say Swerve, and I would say Brody King is going to be elevated. And I think that's the point of this tournament. Not necessarily who wins it in the end, but the journey there is going to elevate a lot of other guys. Who else is in the tournament? Who else is in the tournament? We should pull up the bracket right now just to see.
Really quickly, while you're pulling that out, one thought on Swerve Strickland. Swerve is one of Tony's guys. Like, he commented, I believe they picked him up really quickly right after he was let go from the WWE, and Tony had commented that he's definitely someone he wants to push towards the top, and he's one of the guys I could see winning this tournament, just because having him represent this title in like NJPW, like in New Japan.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Like, there could be some great Swerve matches in New Japan.
So
I don't know.
I don't know what happened tonight, what the result was, but I think they're foolish if they don't do what I'm about to propose. Like first, hang on, I'm pulling up the whole roster here, and okay, so, all right, we had just so we're clear on where we're standing. We had Swerve defeat Jay Lethal, Jay White defeated Roosh, Jon Moxley defeated Mark Briscoe. Also, that match was awesome, by the way. If you haven't seen that one, that was great. I can watch any Mark Briscoe match and have a good time. Like that dude is just so much fun to watch. Claudio Castagnoli defeated Daniel Garcia. Brody King defeated Eddie Kingston. So Eddie's like a match down with that. Moxley defeated Jay Lethal. Roosh defeated Mark Briscoe. Swerve defeated Jay White. Brody King defeated Claudio Castagnoli. So they're pushing Brody pretty hard here.
So those are our two leaders right now, are Mox and Brody. Is that right?
Hang on.
With two matches apiece, or
I'll get you more info on that in a second. Oh shit! Tonight, by the way, do you want a spoiler? Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Here we go. Yeah, this is Bryan Danielson did defeat Eddie Kingston.
Eddie never needs to win to win. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So yeah, there's a lot. There is a lot going on there, and then I'm trying to just pull up the whole list. Here we go. So Blue League, Brody. This breaks it down perfectly. So in the lead on the Blue League, we got Brody King with 6 points. Following him in the Blue League, Andrade with 3, Danielson with 3, Claudio with 3, Garcia with 0, Eddie Kingston with 0. On the other end, which is the Gold League, we have Jon Moxley with 6, Swerve Strickland with 6, Jay White with 3, Roosh with 3, Jay Lethal with 0, and Mark Briscoe with 0. So Eddie Kingston, who basically put his belts on the line to make this a Triple Crown tournament, is at 0 points. Meaning, now he has to win all the matches to come back. And that's exactly what they're going to do. In the end, it's going to be Eddie Kingston versus Jon Moxley in the finals. And Eddie Kingston will beat Jon Moxley to retain his Ring of Honor and Triple Crown championship. That's my prediction.
I could definitely see that, as Eddie Kingston is a man who was wrestled in all 3 promotions, and the
history with Jon Moxley,
and the fact that the man just is, the history with Jon Moxley, and honestly, Eddie Kingston is one of the most knowledgeable people when it comes to the Japanese wrestling world, in that company. So he could definitely, he could be over there for, and he was over there for a couple months. He could be over there for some time and benefit greatly.
I definitely think that's the way it's going to go. I think that they've never finished that story with him and Mox, and I do think that you also now have the opportunity to tell it that Eddie Kingston has lost his first 2 matches, so his next 3 he has to win, and then you tell that story of the underdog to get back up there, and then to compete against Mox in the end. It's just, to me, it's the right way to go. I think.
It's been a while since we've had Eddie versus Mox. I mean, it's been a couple of years.
It has. Well, again, they've never finished it since really since Blackpool Combat Club became a thing. And remember how he was also at one point he was yelling at Renee to fix this, or she was yelling
Renee, fix this.
Yeah, Renee, fix this. So it's all in there. It's all kayfabe, bro. I love it. I think it's actually gonna work. I don't know. If it's not that story, I don't see Danielson winning it. If it's not that story though, I would love to see a Brody King win that, right? Like, I would love to see a guy that, like, hasn't had much attention given to him. Like, it would seem stupid for me to have Claudio win it, for instance. Like, doesn't need it. I also would make the argument with Swerve that as good as it would be for, I don't think Swerve needs it. Moxley doesn't need it. Kingston, it feels right. Mm-hmm. King, like, he could use that. Andrade could use that. Like, Andrade would be another one that I would put in that category. Jay White does not need it. Roosh could use it. Jay Lethal, never. Daniel Garcia, nah. Like, not the time, right? Like, and Mark Briscoe, no. Like, so, and Danielson, no, it just doesn't need it. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Kingston. Still wins the whole thing, but if it's not Kingston, give it to fucking Brody. Like, that's what I would do. That's what I would do. Like,
the house needs to win sometimes, right?
And they need to stop with that stipulation. How fucking dumb is Julia Hart for picking a stipulation that almost loses her brand new title? Like, stop doing this. Like, why would you, as any wrestler or competitor in anything, put on the line the possibility of your opponent gets to pick a stipulation that might end up, like, playing on one of your weaknesses? Like, that to me, no one can explain it, because it's just a terrible stipulation. Like, they just get rid of it. Pretend it didn't exist, right? Like, it's all you got to do.
It'd be funny if one of the opponents, like, chose a cheerleading competition and forces her to go back to her previous gimmick.
Her old gimmick. Yeah, I feel really bad for her. She had a real stinker of a match last week. I want to say it was.
Yeah, she seemed a little off for sure.
Was it Sky Blue?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know people like Sky Blue. I think she's fucking terrible. So I
like her. I don't like the new direction with her.
No,
I really don't.
It sucks. It's not good. It's not gonna work. She just doesn't have. Maybe it's her age or something, but there's just something not believable about her at all in any capacity. Like, like, heel or face. Like, I feel nothing for you.
I think as a face, she does better for me. She kind of reminds me.
Yeah.
She's kind of, for me at least, she's definitely there on, like, the level of Willow, where it's kind of like, your likable baby face who, is there to kind of get smacked around and be the underdog a bit. But I don't dig the new direction. I'm glad they finally changed her out of her Scooby-Doo gear, because I think it was hard to be a heel persona.
Yeah, that was a little
walking around in
yeah.
mobile.
Yeah.
Colors,
which was great gear, by the way, too.
Oh, wonderful gear, but not like Heelish, like ooh, I'm a badass.
No, hard to be a badass, like, tough bitch with that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
How do you? Okay, so what are your thoughts then? AEW related, of course. What are your thoughts with the latest developments and how the whole story is going for this Devil stuff with MJF? And because I think I'm holding out hope, but part of me is really worried this is gonna be bad.
Yeah, I'm not keeping expectations up. I get the sense, as I've watched the storyline evolve over the last month and a half or so, that they've changed their idea of who it's going to be a few times.
Well, I think they had to change direction when Adam Cole got injured, right? Like, that's the thing. I think it had to have been the idea in the beginning that it was going to be Cole all along, and
But even that, after that, I feel like they kind of settled on someone, and maybe they don't know again.
You think they might have changed twice? Is what you're saying? You think they might?
I think they have, because I think there was a period there after Adam Cole got injured where they didn't know, but they needed to keep it in the storyline to keep it fresh in people's minds.
Sure.
So we'll see. I still can't say. I still don't know. I feel like it's gonna be, it's going to be maybe Roddy in the Kingdom, but that's not as interesting.
Yeah, that seems like
Kyle
so
O'Reilly
obvious and a
Bobby
letdown
Fish
there. Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard a cool one, and I'm like, it's probably not at all. But I'm like, oh shit, if it was, I would fucking be into it. Someone was just like, what if it's Kenny? You know, like it would get a pop. It would move the needle, and it wouldn't be, people wouldn't shit on it if it was someone as big as Kenny. That's kind of what this needs at this point. It needs, like, we saw the beatdown this week, right? We saw the stuff that was obviously, we saw the guy, you know, that was clearly probably Wardlow, with the bat, like, that was leading the beatdown. And then we saw, like, the cheesy, you know, pop up on the screen. Everything went black, and then we had the typewriter font of, what the hell did they challenge him to a tag match or something? Like, okay.
This guy has control of the all this production.
Oh yeah, and then I like how commentary had to, like, then try and explain that. It's like, oh yeah, we got some IT hacker that's, like, now working in the company. It's an internal hack that's been going on. We don't know where
who was the hacker in WWE? Mustafa Ali.
Yeah,
maybe it's Mustafa Ali.
Yeah, but you know, and you know what? He's a free agent and probably around soon. Like, if they wanted to, they could do that, but it would go over like a lead balloon. Like that shit is not working if you throw Mustafa Ali in there. Like, no, that's,
you know, I don't know.
I've heard Ziggler I've also heard Ziggler being thrown around in that, and I'm like, nope, not big enough. Not big enough. Not a big enough name.
Dude, personally, I wish they would have never brought this devil thing back. I love the way they had it originally with MJF and coming out.
It should have just been his, like, little thing for special entrances. Like, I don't know that they needed to do the whole thing with this. No.
This kind of is like, eh. So I wish they would have gone a different way with it, because I feel like no matter who's revealed to be under that mask, we might be disappointed. I mean, I just can't imagine anyone right now in my head who would be like, oh my God, you know, I can't believe it's
Britt Baker has obviously been thrown around as part of it, as like an orchestrator, that she's mad that, like, you know, Adam, she's doing it for Adam because Adam's now friends with this, you know, piece of shit, and she doesn't want him being friends with MJF, so she's inserting herself, and then she's buddies with Wardlow, so she recruited a bunch of dudes. Like, okay, but that doesn't move the needle very much for me.
No, exactly, it doesn't for me either. So it's not interesting writing. And again, I don't really go to AEW for my interest in writing. I go to it for my in-ring storytelling.
But you say that, but then you had so much incredible stuff with the Elite in its early years, where absolutely it was doing that, and that was part of what, like, that's part of what made AEW. It's part of what made AEW so special, because WWE wasn't doing any sort of long-term storytelling. And then you had stuff like with the Hangman saga, and you had all the stuff with the Elite, and, like, you know, the Kenny and Hangman shit, and like all that stuff was so long and so well thought out, and went, like, for years, for like 2 years to really pay off some of that shit. So they can do it. Now? I mean, no, we're not. That's the problem. That's why AEW is suffering. I think maybe this devil thing is part of that. It's Adam Cole MJF is that, right? It's just, I think they've had to completely pivot because of the injury. That injury's got to be real. I still, in my heart of hearts, think it's just going to end up being Cole. They're just diverting and taking their time and throwing some wrenches in there and extending it so that, like, Adam Cole can at least walk for a couple months and before we have a match, you know, like, if we're 6 months out from Cole, all right, so that's 2 months since his injury. So that's where we are now. So then we can extend for another 2-3 with, like, storylines with other people. That puts us there. And then, like, okay, so hopefully, you know, in another 2 months, like, it's a long time to go, but they can probably do it if it's told well. I just don't think they're going to be able to sustain it. Like, that's my biggest issue.
No, it was easier for them to sustain long-term storytelling in the first couple years of the company. Now the problem is actually being a competitor to the WWE, who they have a few long-term storylines, but a lot of them are just pay-per-view to pay-per-view. I think they're trying to adapt to that style more.
Well, I would say it was easier for AEW to capture fans when Vince was writing the bullshit that he was writing. Now that we actually have some competent, sane, non-geriatrics in control of creative in WWE, you have the chance. It's harder for harder for AEW to compete with that.
Exactly.
I think that's where we stand right now. It's like, and it's also a good thing. I like the competition. I like that WWE has gotten better, because it should force AEW to, all right, now you got to get better. You said you were going to be the new trendsetters. You said they were, okay, now you got to step it up. And, and I'm worried that they have run out of ideas, like that they burn through so many of the ideas in that 4-year period since its inception, that now we're in this kind of weird, like, like we got to go back to our own well. Well, the well's not that deep because it's only 4 years old. Like, and now, and now what wrestling like lore do we have to pull? And now and they do this all the time in AEW, where it's like, okay, we're going back to the Greensboro Coliseum, and I get the historical significance of it. I get it. But you know who doesn't get it? The 13-year-old fan that just tuned in to see Darby Allin, who you need to be directing your marketing to and selling tickets to. They don't care that Sting and Ric Flair are going to be at the Greensboro Coliseum. They don't care. They don't have any idea of the historical significance or whatever that means. They're going to the well and the wrong well in the wrong places, because now they're pulling shit for the wrong demographic. They're pulling shit for guys even older than us. Like they're pulling shit for 50 or 60-year-olds. Why are you marketing to that? That's dumb.
Exactly.
That's just dumb. It's bad. That's bad business. And they're doing that too consistently at this point.
You think about how the WWE marketed itself back in the 80s. I know I'm dating myself, but I became a fan in like 83, 84. And at that time, the presentation style was, even though we were in this place where historically pro wrestling, like in the 40s and 50s and 60s, you see the videos and there's a lot of elderly people in the crowd. It's a lot older of a demographic. Where in the 80s it started to shift a lot, especially with
it was late 80s. I mean, I'm sorry to make you feel old, but I was born in 80s. I was born in 86, right? I was into wrestling at started because I had an older brother. 3 to 4 years old, I started watching wrestling because of my older brother. He's 5 years older than me. So but that's the perfect age, like right around that early 90s, like that super late 80s, early 90s. Here I am, like getting those first, like those visuals of the WWF, and they were 100% marketing to me as a little child. Like that's 100% what they were doing. And guess what? It worked, because I'm here talking about it with you right now. So, it's
exactly. And they've always been really good at riding that wave, and riding that cultural wave. I mean, look at what happened in the late 90s, early 2000s with the Attitude Era.
Sure.
That was because when you look at pop culture at that time in the 90s, it was all about extreme, and we were able to push the boundaries a lot more, because it was the pre 9/11 era where we were just, everyone.
I like to call it the South Park era sometimes. I like to call it the South Park era. Yeah. It's
for sure. And everyone was a lot edgier then. And now we're kind of in this different era where the WWE,
everybody's up. Well, we're all pussies now, so we got
They're kind of having a hard time finding their identity between marketing, newer stars, and then every WrestleMania or something having like the Click come back and completely demolish. Do you remember that year where The Rock came back and then demolished
the Wyatts?
Yeah, the Wyatts. Who Redbeard.
Oh yeah,
and it was just like
well,
why are we doing this?
Eric Rowan, like he just came back. He just came back. Let's have a.
We're not building new stars, but
No.
AEW in that same token, they're kind of having that same problem. They really should be putting a lot more energy behind Darby Allin because man, every time I go to an AEW show, I see little boys.
So many with the
I even saw once
face.
a little girl dressed in the Darby Allin paint. Like this is how you build the core moments to build that future generation of fans.
Exactly.
And it's that future generation of fans that are going to take their kids to it. It's all a cycle.
Absolutely.
But the problem is right now, man, in 10, 20 years, like, who are going to be your stars from this era? Because so few people have held the belts.
We're saying that, but they have done an incredible job with MJF. And MJF is 100% going to be
AEW's done a great job.
A movie star. He's gonna be.
Oh, he already is. He's gonna be in the. He's in the Golden.
Yeah. Apparently it's for all of like 2 seconds.
Yeah.
But he's an executive producer on it, so good for him.
Oh yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm gonna love that, sitting in the theater and then seeing executive producer
Maxwell Jacob
Freeman,
and he's gonna love that moment. And he's
I'm gonna applaud in the movie theater. No one's gonna know why.
Yeah, exactly.
By the way, that movie, there are gonna be so many people who go to see it thinking of going to see a feel-good movie of the
we know we shouldn't even say, even on this podcast right now,
oh dude, A24,
tell everyone it's just a great
just
tell everyone it's a great movie, hype it up, all the stars. You've seen Zac Efron, he's in that movie with Seth Rogen or whatever, and
you'll see abs, it'll be fine.
He's got abs and shit. You go see it, you'll love it. And then they just just videotape them as they come out outside of the theater afterwards. They're gonna be dead.
I told my wife, I'm like, you're gonna see this one with me, and I took her to see Gladiator last week, and she's like, I don't know if I want to see movies with you. Not Gladiator, Napoleon. She's
shit!
Like, I don't know if I want to see movies with you anymore.
Was that worth the whole 3.5 hours or whatever it was?
Oh, I loved it. I loved it. We saw it Thanksgiving night, and it was perfect. But I'm a huge.
You're a
fan
movie
of
guy,
I'm a Ridley Scott guy, and I love Joaquin Phoenix. So
I do too.
So I ate the entire thing up. But it's
is it a must in theaters, or will I enjoy it in 6 months when it's on streaming at home?
Honestly, man, unless you have a really good sound system at home, I would recommend seeing it in theaters. There's some pretty epic battle scenes.
Yeah,
there's a lot of downtime. Don't get me wrong, but the battle scenes,
good score
that stayed with me. The score too, yeah.
All right. Well, maybe you sold
Ridley
me.
Scott knows how to put it together, dude.
No, he does. Really, and he did Gladiator too, right? He did do Gladiator. You mentioned Gladiator. That's probably why you mixed them up.
And he did Alien, which is one of my all-time favorites.
Yeah. Aliens is in the past. Aliens and all they're shit. So yeah, no fucking. I get it. I'm a film guy too, but back to like MJF real quick.
Yeah.
What if at the end of the day, they play on he is the devil and he goes back, they find a way to turn him back heel with, it was me all along, I mean, the whole gimmick, right? Like, greatest trick the devil ever pulled was convincing the world that he never existed. The whole deal would lead back to this happening. I can see him doing it.
It was me all along.
It was me all along. Like, I can see it. Do you? Like, is that a possibility?
Well, I mean, he's our scumbag. I mean, if we have to accept that he's our scumbag, we have to accept that he is a scumbag. And the scumbags are going to do what a scumbag's going to do. They don't give a shit about the fans. and honestly,
no one's on the level of the devil.
And this works for me. And this is kind of what they do. This is kind of what they do with Randy Orton on WWE that I like. And they're doing it with him right now, where he's so insincerely, well, not insincerely, like he's such like he's giving high fives to fans, like on his way to the ring, and you're like, dude, this guy can turn any second, and he did. I mean, at least he turned on Nick Aldis the other night.
Exactly.
So it happens, and I like that, and I like MJF being like this guy who, when he does turn, he's gonna be like, "Come on, guys!
I told you the whole time. Like, yeah, exactly. Like, throw my hands up. I've been literally telling you the whole entire time I was a piece of shit. You know,
it's the tale of the scorpion riding the fox across the river. You ever hear that? They both come to the river, and the scorpion says to the fox, "Hey, will you give me a ride?" And the fox says, "Sure, but don't sting me." And the scorpion says, "Okay." And then they get across. Scorpion stings them, and fox says, "What the fuck?" And the scorpion says, "I am a scorpion. Like, what do you expect? Like,
I told you,
it's gonna happen." Yeah,
it's what we do. That's our thing.
And that's what MJF does, and that's what he's gonna be famous for doing.
I mean, I think it's almost their get out of jail free card with the devil thing if they pull that. Like it's maybe this wasn't the original plan, but no one's going to boo it. Like, they might go, no one's gonna go, like, there's not gonna be groans if MJF pulls the thing up. If it's Dolph Ziggler under there's gonna be groans. If there's Mustafa Ali, there's gonna be groans. If it's Britt Breaker, there's gonna be groans. Nah, if you do MJF Adam Cole, like, it might be a little underwhelming, but it won't get groans. Like, that's like, and at this point, I think that's what you need to do, because the production of it as well has been shoddy, to say the least. And AEW really, really needs to button some of that shit up. Like, it looks, man, sometimes it's just like, guys, like
that office window they threw MJF through.
Yeah.
Do you remember a couple weeks ago?
Yep.
Dude, that was the dumbest looking office.
Yeah.
It made no sense. There was no doorway. Like, it was just like an open piece of like wood. Like,
whose office is this?
You could tell some production assistant, they're like, "Hey, dude, we just need you to put together something, just build a small desk in there and put a window in there." And it's like, "Are you sure you want to looking like this?" And they did, and that looked so ridiculous.
It did.
And I look. This is wrestling, and we all know.
But real quick though, with AEW, they've just done it too many times now. They've had too many of these. It all stems back to when MJF threw Chris Jericho off the top of the Blood and Guts cage. Was it Blood and Guts? Whatever cage it was. He threw him off the top of the cage, and he fell through the ramp onto the fake cardboard steel panels that had all the crash pads underneath it. Like, It stems back to that, and has happened just too many times. Too many times.
And I think the most famous example in AEW is the exploding barbed wire match. I mean, that is just it became such a meme that they even put that in the video game, where you could have the choice between it having the big explosion or the small
one. I'm gonna tell you a story real quick, non-wrestling related, that happened to me this past week. That's job related. That I had my own exploding barbed wire deathmatch moment. Let's just say I work at the factory, which is a big theme park, right? And I'm also responsible for a lot of elements within that factory that involve a big parade and a big lighting of the tree ceremony with one and only Santa, right? Well, Santa has this whole thing where he's telling people to look at this huge fucker of a tree. It is a big fucker of a tree. And it's all dark, right? No, it's not lit up or anything. And Santa's like, "Come, we're going to be Christmas magic and all this shit." And he goes, "Hey, everybody, we're going to light this tree." He's saying a lot more Santa-like than I am. But he goes, and We're going to light this. Please join me. Everybody, we're going to light this tree in 3, 2. Or no, I think he goes 1, 2, 3. And the tree's supposed to go up. Did it? Nah, sorry. There's a problem with the lighting that day. And a lot of silence and crickets played as the tree did nothing. It was my exploding barbed wire deathmatch moment. I'm just saying, like, I understand the cringe, and it's pretty terrible. But,
yeah, well, but I mean, it happens.
It's like whoopsie daisies. Yeah. And I'm sure someone said, "Oh, someone got fired that day." No one got fired that day. Shit just happens, bro. Like, just deal with it. Anyway,
yep, especially at the factory where my brother-in-law also works.
Off air.
Very similar.
You gotta make sure to send me his name again. I'm gonna find that motherfucker one day just to fuck with him, just to say hello. Do you think there's a chance that Joe beats MJF though in this match coming up?
No, I don't think so. But I think it's certainly going to be. We're going to see the return to Ruthless Joe. Ruthless kind of do anything to win the match, Joe. And that's where Joe needs to be. I don't like him as a face. I don't like Joe ever smiling. I just want him to come out and fuck shit up.
I'll say they have me already. I don't think he will drop the title, but they have me doubting it more than they did with Jay White.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think in the match, I'm gonna be doubting it even more. And especially if MJF, like, I know he's banged up. I know there is some real element to his injuries, but I think obviously he's working it and playing with it a bit. But I think he is probably pretty hurt. Like, there is something going on, like, knee, hip, whatever the deal is. And if they play with that enough in the match, with just how aggressive and, like, if they're playing Joe, they're gonna have me. They're gonna have me on the hook. They're gonna do it,
and that's smart. And that's honestly one of the, I think in wrestling storytelling, especially when you're talking about in-ring storytelling, when you work an injury into it and you create an automatic underdog because of that injury, I think that becomes a very compelling storyline. You see it done so many times, and it's if it's done right, you never get tired of it because it creates believable false finishes where you do for a second think, wait a second, this man may lose the title tonight, and that's the glory of having like a belt that transfers every couple months instead of going for these records of like, oh, we got to beat this 500-day record. Now we got to beat the 3-year record. Now we got to beat Bruno Sammartino's record. Like I prefer this where I'm sometimes questioning it, even though I'm pretty sure MJF is going to win. I'm with you where there's that little doubt in my mind, and that's what makes me watch it. That's what makes it interesting.
I just don't see it being Joe.
I don't either.
And that's and as believable he would be. I think, you know what? 5 years ago, maybe I would have had a different opinion. Joe's at the end of his career. Why are we really going to strap him up with the AEW championship? Like, that seems silly to me. Now, Swerve Strickland or, like someone in,
it's going to be Swerve soon.
I think Swerve is actually the guy to take it off MJF, and I think Swerve defends it against Will Ospreay and loses it to Will Ospreay at All In Wembley. Like that's and they have history. That's the way I would book it. But I think Revolution is probably where you would drop it, and then you have Swerve with the belt until Wembley, where you run with it. You're a fucking idiot if you don't put the belt on Ospreay pretty much immediately. Sure. Like, you're done. Yeah. Like, so you have to do that. Do you have MJF? I think it's better to not have MJF drop it to him. I think it's better for Swerve to drop it. And I also think that's kind of the way that they're going to go.
God, that's an exciting match. Thinking about that,
Yeah.
If that's the way they go, that would be really cool.
Have you seen Swerve Osprey before?
No, I haven't seen him.
Yeah, no, they had a match in. I want to say it was in Defy. You can find it on YouTube. They have a banger of a match.
Look it up.
It's pre-AW. So yeah, it's the one where they all the clips went around not too long ago of the two of them. They have a whole dance off beforehand.
Yeah, I didn't see any of this.
Yeah. They have a whole dance off with Uptown Funk. Like both of them do a dance off, and it's kind of weird because it's pre-bulk Will Ospreay. It's when he was still it must have been around the time he was doing this shit with Ricochet and had that match with Ricochet where they were doing the superhero shit and bouncing, he was very much still a junior heavyweight in New Japan. It was before he had made that transition and really bulked up. But yeah, it's a good match. Him and Swerve, again, I think it was Defy, but they had a banger and they have that history, so I can see them sort of trying to revisit and capture that magic, especially at Wembley. Main event Wembley, Swerve Strickland, Will Ospreay.
I'll have to look that up.
Calling it now.
On I don't know if you saw this, but on Reddit the other day, I saw a clip of Prince Nana wrestling 5 years ago.
I saw that.
Dude was built.
He was big, dude. He was big.
Like Big E, Big E built.
Yeah.
I never would have thought.
Well, I wouldn't have even recognized the dude. It doesn't even look like the same dude. Yeah, I saw that. I'm
holy crap.
How old is? Do we know how old Nana is?
He's got to be late 30s.
No, he's older than that.
You think so?
Nana's got to be in his 50s, bro. Nana's late 40s or something. Yeah.
How old is Prince? No.
Gotta be late, mid to late 40s.
44.
All right, I was saying mid to late 40s. Yeah, all right, 44. Yeah,
he's actually younger than me.
yeah. How's that make you feel?
Yeah, fine. I'm fine. I'll be okay.
Oh man.
The older you get, you look up to older guys.
Hey,
I'm looking at Edge right now, and I'm like, okay. If I could be that good at what is he 48, 49?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
then hopefully I'll be fine.
Exactly, dude. And if you can come back from a neck injury, anything's possible. One more quick thing. I know we should probably wrap up here soon, but one more quick thing about the devil.
I had one more quick thing too.
The devil thing. Heard a lot of theories that maybe it is the MJF thing, but also not only the MJF thing. What if it's a rebirth of the Pinnacle? And at first,
I never was into the Pinnacle.
Well, no one was, because it fucking flopped like a fish. But I think if they did it right, it could work. I do think there is something there. Who
was in the Pinnacle?
If you were to, okay, so the original Pinnacle was MJF, Shawn Spears,
was Wardlow,
and FTR. With Arn. Wasn't Arn part of the Pinnacle?
Yeah,
I think he was. So. I think so. So I think it was those 5 with Arn, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the case. So we were talking earlier. What do you do with FTR? They're kind of lost right now. Well, just kind of figured something. MJF and Wardlow reuniting would kind of work. And it would also explain, okay, Wardlow's on the payroll of MJF again or something. Like they can easily make, storyline wise, it can easily make it happen. We just haven't seen Shawn Spears in I don't know how long. I think he's still employed.
Yeah, I don't think he's injured. Have we ever considered that it could be the Callis family?
I don't. Yeah.
I mean, who would be the guy you would have go up against him besides?
I wouldn't hate it, but they just haven't done a good enough job of establishing the Callis family for it to be that for me. It doesn't. Something's not clicking. I've heard that theory floated around, but I'm just, I don't know. To me, they seem like two worlds. They're too far apart.
Mm-hmm.
If it was the Callis family, then who do you put as the actual devil? Callis himself?
Yeah, I would say Callis himself. But
if you do that, you're not really giving anybody a ton of shine.
Yeah, you're right.
The whole point of a devil reveal is it's either MJF or Adam Cole, right? Big, oh shit, like storyline implications. Or
it's gonna be like, oh yeah, okay.
Or it's and of course we know this isn't gonna happen. Or it's a CM Punk, or it's a the whole idea with that type of thing is that you would want it to be the shocking, and you would Takeshita's not gonna get that reaction. Who else do they have in Callis family at this point?
I think just Hobbs,
Takeshita. Aussie Open, I guess, maybe. Sammy.
Oh, which, by the way,
that would fucking suck if it was Sammy.
Speaking of long-term storylines, one 9-month storyline concluded yesterday when Sammy and Ty had their baby. So, whatever you think about the two of them, congratulations to them. Parenthood is a crazy wild ride.
It'll be a pretty baby. I'll say that.
It'll be a pretty baby.
You know what's crazy too is same day Alexa Bliss and that pop star Ryan dude had their baby. I think same day.
They did.
I don't know. That's also going to be a pretty baby. Hendrix. They named it Hendrix, and apparently it was Jimi Hendrix's birthday. Just found that was an interesting tweet.
Oh, that's not awful. Yeah. That's not awful. I don't hate it. Hey, can I bring up one more thing before we get out of here?
Yeah, whatever, man.
And it's going back to the whole Punk thing.
Sure.
I don't know if you saw this, but one Mr. Ryback tweeted that if CM Punk returned, he would retire.
Yeah.
And then CM Punk returned. And everyone went to Ryback looking for receipts, and Ryback said, "No, I meant if he returned to AEW," which is complete bullshit. There was never speculation that the man would return to AEW on a day when AEW didn't have a pay-per-view or any show at all. Or no, they did have Collision. No one thought he was going to return to Collision in where they were like in Indiana or something.
Also, what are you retiring from, Ryback? Because you said I don't know when was the. Have you wrestled in 5 years? I don't know that you've are you gonna just retire from Twitter? I don't know. It's not like he's done indies or anything, right? He's not been anywhere.
I tell you what, the man could play this in his favor and change his name to Retire Back. And it would be hilarious. It'd be hilarious.
How has TNA not hired him?
Especially now that they're back to TNA.
That guy just looks like he belongs in TNA. Before, even when he was in WWE, he looked like he belonged in TNA.
Yeah, exactly.
One real quick thing. Found out a fact. Gonna give you a guessing game here. How many titles do you think that AEW has had defended on its television since its inception? How many titles would you guess? Would you say?
Are we saying how many times as the main title, or
no? How many different titles? How many individual titles? So so I'll give you some guesses. 11, 22, 33, 44, or 55.
Okay. So there's a lot there. They did the 8 AAA championships there, NJPW.
Yeah, think about all the different things.
I think
Ring of Honor,
Impact on their one. So I'm gonna go with my lucky number is 22 because that's my birthday. So I'm gonna go with 22.
It's actually 33 as the number.
33? Dude, I could not name 33 titles if you put a gun to my head and told me to. There's no way.
It's the Pure Championship and the New Japan Strong, all of these,
Six man. Yeah.
33.
Do you think that does that include like the diamond ring, the dynamite diamond ring, or like the?
I'd have to look that up. I don't know if that counts or not, but 33 was the stat that I read. I mean, like I'm trusting the internet to be somewhat correct on this, but it can't be
so
that
here's
far
another
off.
question. I wonder if we include the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?
Oh, it has to be included.
Currently held by Double J, Jeff Jarrett.
Yes.
And will never be lost by the man because we will never ever have another match for that belt.
Oh, unfortunately, I don't know.
That was actually not a bad.
It was a good looking belt with a terrible match. We'll just say we'll leave on this. How about this? How is the Nick Aldis experiment going for you?
I honestly like it.
Me too.
Except I did not like him getting laid out by Randy the other night because I think that makes him look like an idiot.
Yeah.
Other than that, I think it's been going well. I like him there.
He's good in his role. I feel like he does have the right presence for what they're trying to achieve with that. And I also think it's a nice like match pairing with Adam Pearce. Like the two sort of, I don't know, like there is like they both have the same level of authority in a weird way. Like they're both at like the same kind of a degree, right? Like they fit each other's vibe, I guess is the way I would put it. Like I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. No, I agree, and so I like him in the role he's in. I understand Dixie Carter was backstage.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll get a little Dixie Carter in there as well.
Ooh.
But no, I don't mind him in this role. I prefer him to Adam Pearce. It's not necessarily a competition. No, they're two different sides of a.
I don't think
same
Pearce is
coin
bad.
in a way.
I just don't like.
No, I don't think it's bad. I think he's just a different style of manager.
Yeah.
I don't see him as threatening because he gets taken advantage of so much.
Although when he announced War Games, he actually looked kind of like a badass.
He's not mad. They were saying, dude, you got to do your best Regal impression.
Yeah.
And he was out there. Yeah, and I got to give it to him. He did it there, but no, I've never been a huge fan of authority figures, especially in the WWE, because they always try to redo the Vince thing and they can never get it right. But I like Vincent, or I like Nick in this spot. So
me too.
And man looks excellent in a suit. So I don't mind him being on the TV.
I wouldn't mind if down the road they actually do let him wrestle. And
I think they will.
I think they will. I think it's part of the gimmick too. I think eventually he gets so pissed at someone where he's in the middle of the ring and he just fucking rips off the suit and oh my god, the dude's a piece and like that's fucking go right. Like he
can. I mean, he did a hell of a tour with the gold belt. I mean, actually, good brother Matthew and I saw him wrestle at a local show against Sugar Free Mario. The dude's whole gimmick is he doesn't eat sugar. It's great. He's in excellent shape too. But we actually saw him wrestle. Nick Aldis wrestle that guy locally. So Nick's all.
We're fucking idiots. I mean, how can we forget? To be honest with you, the original All In, Cody Rhodes, Nick Aldis, the NWA title.
That is right.
The story is right. The story is right there. Like it's
oh my god,
right
I
there.
Completely forgot.
Yeah.
Yes. Good call.
So,
good catch. Yeah.
So like who knows what happens with that down the line. I've got not much more to add.
I've got nothing else.
I've had a wonderful time talking to you, and man,
absolutely,
we came up with some really bold and interesting ideas for the future of the wrestling industry. They should be listening to us.
They're listening.
They should be listening. Exactly, like
Tony and Trips and Sean.
Yeah,
yeah,
we got it. Get Danhausen in 2.0. Like Sean, that's what we recommend. Anyway, we thank you so much for joining the OHNO Wrestling podcast. Make sure to subscribe to us and just join our Facebook channel. That's the easiest thing, right? Our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/OHNO Wrestling. Just hop in there and we'll let you know whenever we're doing a podcast. We'll post whenever we do that. And it's always up on anywhere you get your podcast. Just search for OHNO Wrestling. If you ever want to leave us a voicemail, you can do so at 407-906-6466. We'd love it if you do so. If you ever want to, watch live, that's twitch.tv/ONRS Live. And that ONRS, of course, stands for OHNO Radio Show, which is that other thing that I do, which you'll be finding this week on Monday evening. But just, search for OHNO Radio Show if you want any of that. Apart from that, patreon.com/ONRS as well. Because, I need money. Give us the money. I like the money. That aside, what do we say when we get out of here, Jay? Woo!